Hola, everybody, and welcome to Club and Country After the Whistle, U.S. men's national team post-game reaction for the Gold Cup, our final group stage show, but not our last show because the boys got it done. They're moving on to the next round. We'll be back on Wednesday, but we've got a ton to break down. Who's coming into the team over the next few days, what's going to happen over the next few rounds, and, of course, Canada, because obviously Canada got it done. We all knew they would. We always knew they would. This show's about you, though. 401-206-0MLS. You give us your calls, and I'll have my great guests break it all down. Let's start with Mr. Bobby Warshaw, former MLS player, author as well, here to break it all down from the midfield, where he sees it and how he sees it. Andrew Wiebe as well, the face of Major League Soccer, as many would call him, editor extraordinaire, and the armchair analyst. I don't have to describe him because he has a nickname.
There just are no words.
There are no, why, who needs words? Armchair and analyst.
That's correct.
That's all you need, and we're going to break everything down for you, the U.S. national team. We're just going to deep dive into penalty kick takers because clearly the U.S. has a bevy of them. 401-206-0MLS. Call that number. And you can get on, you can ask questions, you can give us your takes.
By the way, I have my phone here. I'm getting the texts to that number as well. So if calling is not your thing, maybe you're out with the family, maybe you're trying to be a little bit sneaky, hit me up. I'll be
and especially Bill Hamid, if you're out there, text Andrew and tell him you want to take the next penalty that the U.S. men's national
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to make it.
If a U.S. national team player texts us, that will just break our show for sure. But let's just go to the hotline. Why have us talk? Let's go to the hotline.
Guys, this is Scott calling from a warm part of the country. I love the Dom Dwyer narrative just as much as the next guy. He's got wonderful tattoos, big muscles, and a very beautiful and famous wife. But please tell me how he is above Juan Agudelo on the depth chart. The dude has no touch. Bye.
Yeah, we came hot straight off the top, right? I mean, this wasn't exactly the game that you walk away from saying Dom's the answer, right? And maybe not even in that fourth spot. It was not a vintage performance from him.
See, to me, it was a vintage performance from him because I agree with the caller. Dom Dwyer, his movement is great. You cannot ever question the man's heart. He's very skilled at the dark arts, and I think that won him a penalty today. But checking back to receive the ball with the defender on his back, he has the first touch of a Greyhound bus. And he loses the ball over and over and over again. And with the way the U.S. plays, especially when there's no real playmaker out there, and Joe Corona is no real playmaker, the center forward has to be able to check back, receive the ball, and do something with it. Dwyer can't do that. Jordan Morris can't do that. Josie Altidore can do that. Bobby Wood could do that. Juan Agudelo can do that. I have Agudelo ahead of Dwyer.
I want to give credit to the Greyhound bus comment.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of things there, but not that one. So that's a good way to start the show. But two, let's remember something. The amount of time a player is on the ball is what? 30 seconds a game? 30 seconds of 90 minutes is the total amount of time a player has the ball on his foot. So there's 89.5 minutes that the player has to do other things.
You're paraphrasing Cruyff. But
right.
Continue.
But no, that's true. But I actually think, we often think that forwards need to be skilled, they need to be the baller on the field. But as a defensive midfielder, I actually thought that the forward was the one guy who I needed to do everything else. Yeah, he needs to score, but he needs to be the one to work hard, to lead the line, to press. And I was actually often okay if he wasn't doing things on the ball as long as he was setting the tone from the front.
But Dom does all the things you just said.
I agree, which is why I'm defending
you're
him.
pro-Dom.
I'm not necessarily pro-Dom. I'm just pro-remembering all these other things. That I think too often we remember what we see. We remember the touches on the ball, but there's so many other things that go into a player's tool set.
But those touches that he has, they become turnovers. They can become breakaways in the other direction.
That's a different conversation. You can say he's under the bar.
Anti-Zard is
because of his touch as well.
Because of his
touch.
Right,
I'm okay having this conversation. You can say there needs to be a certain standard, a certain bar that the player needs to be at, and Dwyer is not there, but that's a different conversation. Maybe he just doesn't have that. He's not to that level, and that's fine. But let's at least acknowledge he does the other things.
100%. 100%. I wish Juan Agudelo was as sharp in the box as Dom Dwyer is. I don't think Juan Agudelo would have scored that goal Dwyer scored the other day against Panama. That was a great goal. It was a great run. He set up his defender, and the U.S. does need that. But what we need more, what the U.S. needs more, is in the buildup, especially without a playmaker. We need that center forward to be able to hold the ball up.
Can I bring us back here? I'm going back to the call, and I'm thinking, this guy was like, yeah, the narrative, Dom has taken it, and he has. We're ignoring the fact that the U.S. came back in the second half in a game in which they didn't look great in the first, and found a way into the quarterfinals and won the group, and it's still doom and gloom. So a 3-0 win against Nicaragua, you win your group in the Gold Cup, and we're sitting here waxing poetic about Dom Dwyer. This performance overall, this group stage overall, it was enough. It was good enough. But is it good enough to look at these knockout rounds and say the U.S. should be favorite in this tournament?
Well, nobody else has looked that good.
That's a good point.
I think it's pretty wide open.
Okay.
You know?
You don't think anyone else for the U.S. national team has looked good?
No. Anybody else in the tournament. I don't think anybody in this tournament.
There's definitely not a dominant force.
Costa Rica hasn't looked as good as I thought they would. Panama's looked super organized and super dangerous. And I think nobody's playing better than Anibal Godoy other than Alfonso Davies.
So Kyle in Palo Alto doesn't know how to spell Graham Zusi. Let's start there.
That's an issue.
Zusi needs to get off the field. Get off the USA field. Dak's not good enough to be Bradley's backup. Bobby, well, you've gotten your negativity out there. Let's start with Dax.
I think Dax offers a lot of things to the team. The big concern for Dax, and I caught up to him a couple times today, is he just isn't comfortable enough in tight spots sometimes. He gets the ball with players around him, and he doesn't check his shoulders. I mean, he checks his shoulders a lot, but sometimes he just forgets and he gets caught on the ball. It happened once or twice today. The question is, do we have anybody that can do that better? Right? So Dax offers a lot of things with his work rate, with his personality, with his leadership. The question is, can we look past occasionally giving those balls away?
Zusi on the other side, people are obviously going to jump on him here, and I think it's just because he's been around so long. He's an easy target. I didn't think he was bad today, but we know what Graham Zusi is at this level, and that's okay. Bruce Arena, I think, is okay with that, with knowing what he'll get on day-to-day. We've also got just a bevy of texts rolling in, by the way. Elijah from West Virginia wants us to go to the wing. He's looking at the likes of Kellen Rowe, but he's not seeing a lot of speed out there. I know you like Chris Pontius today, Bobby. What did we see on the wing in a game in which maybe Dom didn't look his best, but that's where some of that creativity came from?
To me, I thought Kellen Rowe was the best player out there. I agree. He doesn't have the speed to create separation, but he's solidly in the mix. I think Paul Arriola has a little bit more speed, and he has some. You could use him as a wing back. You could use him as a winger as well, and he's been productive too. So I'm not necessarily as concerned, especially because Darlington Nagbe is going to come into this team, and Fabian Johnson is going to be around for qualifying as well. I would like it if Kekuta Mane in 2017 played like Kekuta Mane at the start of 2016. Well, but that hasn't happened yet.
He's got to play first for Cressy.
He's got to play first for Cressy. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a bummer for this group right now, but I don't think it's as huge a long-term issue.
Okay, so biggest takeaways from the group stage right now. Where do you stand?
I think, it's still Kellen Rowe up and down because I'm, like I said on the last show, I'm looking forward to 2018 at all times. I know this tournament's important. I know expectations are that they'll go win it. But Kellen Rowe having a little bit of an up and down tournament to me is one of the big takeaways because we had quickly kind of crowned him there at the top. I do think Bruce getting it done in Group B is important. But you saw him today. He let loose with some choice words numerous times. Bruce is not necessarily happy right now. I think that's also a good thing. But I would look at those guys for 2018.
Bobby, what do you take away?
You feel like something is marinating there.
To be honest, I have a temptation to give a grand sweeping statement right now. But part of me also just thinks, what is there to take away for games against Martinique and Nicaragua?
In which Bruce stirred the pot each game.
But yeah, are we just looking too hard to find the right straw, to find the sound of the noise?
But these guys only have this chance. This was it for some of them, right? 6 new guys are coming in. We've already seen Bradley and Josie.
So I think about this often. If you're not going to play your way into the World Cup team, you can only play yourself out of it. And did anybody play themselves out of it? Like, did we really learn anything from these games and the fact that anyone played their way out? And I'm not sure.
I don't know. Joe Corona. I mean, if Joe Corona was in there to potentially be a backup number 10, dear God, no.
Okay, that's one.
I thought
to step in and take over on that. We wanted the team to win, but remember, we're getting ready for a year from now at the World Cup, and sometimes you can learn just as much from losing. We just wanted answers. It'd be really nice to win the Gold Cup, but at the end of the day, if we get answers going into Russia, that's probably just as important. So I'm actually okay. As much as I want the team to win, as much as I yell at the screen during these games, we need answers, and we have to remember that we can't get lost in temptation to get 3 points all the time. And at the end of the day, if we get answers out of this tournament, which I'm actually not sure we have, but that should be the way we measure these games.
Yeah, we've got texts rolling in, by the way. 401-206 Zero MLS. Spencer in Omaha is basically on board with you guys. He's saying, can we really make accurate judgments from this kind of roster in these kinds of games, especially without the locks? We saw Michael Bradley. We saw Tim Howard in the stands there. We know some changes are coming. We'll get to that. Aaron from North Jersey, of course, is on that Matt Miazga train. He said he could hear cheers in his neighborhood. Cool to support
Clifton,
the guy.
baby.
That was a huge goal for Matt Miazga, his first ever. And it was a huge goal for the U.S., too, because it means they won the group and avoided Costa Rica in those knockout rounds.
Yeah, and I thought he was very good today. But again, it is Nicaragua, but the level of confidence he plays with every time out there, and it doesn't matter whether he's playing for the Dutch Cup or whether he's playing for a Supporters' Shield win or his first significant national team game, he goes out there with kind of like a FU personality, and I love it. I love it. And he has on top of that, there's no question that he has international caliber athleticism, size, quickness. I think he reads the game really well. As Bobby said before the game, he needs to clean up his distribution a little bit.
And he showed that. He did that tonight.
He did.
He answered the questions we had.
And not a lot of guys on that back line have done that this tournament. What do you guys think? 401-206-0MLS. Let's go to the hotline.
Hey guys, Ben from California here. I read on ESPN that the guys getting called in are Howard, Bradley, as we saw, but also Dempsey, Nagbe, Jesse Gonzalez, and Altidore. How do you feel about two keepers getting called in, and who do you think Bruce will send home, and how would you see Bruce lining up with a new mix of guys, combining it with the old roster who already has 3 games in this Gold Cup under their belt?
Can I just say I'm excited to see Jesse Gonzalez's name there? I mean, Bill Hamid had a nice game, and props to him for getting here and handling business. To see Jesse get on this team after everything he's gone through is great, but I do think that old guard is going to change things, and I see you're going to a lot of guys have chances that are now gone. The group stage was their opportunity.
Here's my question about Jesse Gonzalez. If we didn't steal him from Mexico, would we care as much?
Hey.
Like, do we really know if he's good enough, except for the fact that we beat Mexico? And it's
Well, I'll tell you this, and I don't want to come down hard on anyone. I don't think Sean Johnson's a U.S. national team keeper, and he was in this pool. So if you're a young keeper that's starting in MLS, maybe if he wasn't a dual national, I think people would be excited they'd be in that conversation, because clearly the bottom of the barrel right now of the national team conversation isn't that.
You got to find answers, and if we don't know that answer, I'm pretty sure you just said that we're looking for them.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
This could be the opportunity. If nothing else, it's an opportunity to have him train with the big dogs and have them make a judgment on it, and have the national team goalkeeper coach look at it. We're talking about Jesse Gonzalez. He's not going to play in these knockout games, right?
Correct, and we could end up talking about Jesse Gonzalez literally into the 2030s because he is that young. So it doesn't feel like an urgent thing to me. I'm glad he's in the pool. I'm glad Bill Hamid played well again today. I just don't have that many concerns about goalkeeper. I am interested in the new guys coming in and what that means for how we'll end up lining up.
Well, so what's your best 11? What do you go with? Because one of the things we've all talked about is like the mental side of this team. Michael Bradley's in there now.
Right.
Is that the captain that they've needed? What do you want it to
Well,
look
I
like?
mean, I thought Alejandro Bedoya and Dax McCarty, I thought, did a good job of leading this team. They came out with energy for the first time in this tournament. I thought those two guys worked well together. But obviously, Bradley.
Is this your lineup?
No, this is actually...
Yeah, I asked Doyle if I
Bobby's.
could take this one, because there are a couple of things I really want to talk about here. One, let's go to the goalkeeper, right? I know we called Howard in, guys, but we just need answers, right? And we need to see what Bill Hamid can do. I feel like we've been talking about this guy forever, and we just need to let him play. So as much as I want to win this Gold Cup, I mean, that's a big question. Who's our third goalie? And really, we have no idea if Bill Hamid is good enough on this stage. So I put Hamid in at goalie. Matt Hedges did not have a great last game. But once again, I mean, you threw him out right away. But again, we just need to know. You can't decide on one game. I can tell you this. At FC Dallas, the second game of his career, he had a stinker at the Galaxy. And I'll tell you what, if Schellas had benched him, Matt Hedges would have never been Defender of the Year. So you just need to let him have a stinker once.
By the way, I'm doing the Bruce Arena pin flip right here on Bill Hamid at goalkeeper, because he's looking at this lineup saying, "There's no way.
There's no way. It's going to be Tim Howard." But
You think Bruce isn't?
And no way.
That's fine. I'm actually not sure that's true. I mean, I think Bruce wants to know who his third goalkeeper is as well.
Okay, we're going to have another show. What are you paying up on when it's Tim Howard in goal?
I'll do some jumping jacks on stage. I'll sing some Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
I
You have to do
agree
both at the
with
same
you.
time,
That's
by the
fine.
way.
I agree with
Real
you on
quick,
Hedges.
I want everyone to say, do they agree with him? Who do you want your goalkeeper? 401-2060 MLS. Text Andrew Wiebe.
Hey, yeah, Noah from Atlanta, who has a better game for Hamid than we've seen from Guzan. I mean, there's a lot of people getting on that Hamid bandwagon through the text line right now.
Doyle, you were going to say?
No, I wanted to get back to the Hedges point. I'm not ready to toss Matt Hedges out at all. But he had a stinker the other day. And like you, I would like to see him get more chances, and hopefully he can make good and be that back line leader and organizer that he is in Dallas. And I like the pairing with Miazga, because Miazga is similar to Walker Zimmerman in that he's really aggressive and he has that break the game type of athleticism, and I think Hedges probably knows how to work with a guy like that.
When I watch these guys on the national team, and I know them from training with them and playing against them, I think that there's two kinds of guys when they get to the national team. I think there's one set that just feels like they were born for it, that they were always supposed to be on that stage. I think there's another set, and I would put a Michael Bradley into that category. I think like an Areola is actually in that category. I think there's another set of guys who are just so excited, so privileged to be on the national team, that it actually gets them a little bit. And I put Matt Hedges in that category. I think Chris Pontius has been that way for his first number of starts. And I just think we need to let guys get over that hump. If we truly feel that they can do it, we have to give them the opportunity to get through those nerves.
Okay, so the U.S. is going to have more games because they're going on to the quarterfinals. That one's Wednesday, July 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. FS1 and Unimas against TBD, which should be a pretty tough opponent. Of course, we think it's going to be Honduras or El Salvador. Alejandro Bedoya is a guy, didn't start for second game, came in, had an assist, got the start today, looked pretty strong. Is he a winger? Is he a central midfielder? Bradley's coming in now, though. Is he going to start alongside Michael Bradley?
Let's frame that question. He's a center midfielder, right? We can cut out the second part.
Yeah, I mean, he is, right? Like, I don't even want to see him used in an emergency on the wing, because I think he just does such a good job of getting around the ball and getting into the right spots and allowing play to move around. And this is something that Bruce Arena was screaming at Kellen Rowe about the other day.
Kellen
Acosta about the other day.
Too many Kellens.
Too many Kellens, yeah. In Tampa, he was on the sidelines screaming at him for 60 minutes before eventually taking him out. And hopefully Acosta is there looking at game film of what Bedoya did today and what he's been doing for the Union, just in terms of keeping the game simple by keeping his movement complex. It just makes it easier for everyone else. And I thought, to me, I still want to see more of Acosta because I think his ceiling is so high. But if he can't more regularly do the stuff that Bedoya did today and that Bedoya has been doing for the Union, then it's Bedoya's job as a number 8.
I really think we're going to see a switch in this knockout round from Bruce. And the first 3 games, like I said, he mixed it up. He changed it up. He wasn't afraid to put guys in different situations, different partnerships. I think in the knockout rounds, you'll start to see him go back to the guys that are going to play on the big stage and say, we only have a certain amount of competitive games. We only have so much time to get these guys together. It's time to see what those mixes look like, and the other guys can kind of fit in and find a way, because ultimately, yes, they might find 3 or 4 guys from this group stage that make that final roster. Those won't be the difference makers. He's still ultimately building for 2018, and he still knows that the pressure is on them to win this tournament on home soil when they didn't do it last time, and it's a tournament that's winnable. I think you'll see the big guys
does that mean Clint Dempsey for you up
as
top?
a starter? See, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he's cool being a...
What do you guys think?
Yeah, do you think he's cool being a sub? Where should he play?
201-40. Whoa.
Oh, what?
Sing it, Andrew.
I have to hear the song.
401-206-0MLS.
What do you think? Also, keep sending us some texts.
We're getting a lot of texts. So people would rather text than call, huh?
Yeah, they would. And also,
man.
Dan from El Paso is out here just ripping Doyle's shirt. He says, what happened? No caller. Is this 1994 in the studio?
A little bit.
Hey, the preacher's... I give him a compliment on the preacher's caller.
Open it, dude. At least open a little bit. If you're going to wear it, open it.
I've been drinking rum old fashions all day. I'm relaxing a little bit. Maybe a little bit of heat stroke.
Arena praising Alejandro Bedoya, yeah. He's leaving, second child, so congratulations, Alejandro Bedoya. All that talk about whether he would partner is probably out right now. So does that mean it's Kellen? Is that Kellen and Michael? Is that where we're going
I think so. I think so. And I think we might actually see a little bit of Dax and Michael. I wouldn't mind seeing Dax as more of a holding player and see if Michael Bradley can play a little bit as a number 8, which he's done in the past. It's not an ideal thing, but it's actually something that going forward we might have to see. And yes, here is my 40-man roster. I made this before the game, but this is still pretty much how it stands for me, though I'm not sure why Jesse Gonzalez is in there at number 15. That's not correct. I didn't have that.
Wow. But
Yeah, Bobby, what
But
do
the
you
last
think?
5 out here, you got Areola, Morris, Rowe, Williams, Leggett. I mean, Leggett coming back.
Yep.
You
Tim
see
Ream.
Hedges outside as well.
Tim Ream's outside as well.
What were the
You seem to be
difficult
pretty high
decisions
on
for
him.
you, Doyle?
Beasler over Ream, just because I've seen Beasler do it in big games. I've seen him play well
Tim
in
Ream
the
did
World
it
Cup.
at Azteca.
He did, and Matt Beasler's played at the Azteca and played pretty well too.
That's a
and
good point.
Beasler's done it in the World Cup and played pretty well. Areola was a tough cut. I had to take Justin Morrow though as a backup left back. I don't want to go into that tournament without a true backup
here's
left
what we
back.
do too often, right? If you're going to give your lineup like that, what is the style that you play? Because the lineup without the context of style. So as an American coach, if you were to be Bruce, what would you do in terms of style and flow and rhythm of your team? Because you can't pick those players without taking that into account.
4-2-3-1 with Christian Pulisic as the free number 10, almost a 4-4-1-1. Everything that Bruce does and that the U.S. should do over the next 12 months should be about putting Pulisic in the best position possible to succeed.
Is that different
This
from what
list
Bruce is
now-
going to do? I mean, that's going to be the game plan, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
So this list right now, this is what you think Doyle Bruce Arena's 40 are. This is in his playing what style?
I think he's playing a 4-2-3-1 primarily. I think that...
Is it because you're privately texting him about it?
No, I'm
We're going to
not.
come back to this. We're going to come back to
Just
this.
because I think it puts Pulisic in position to have the most influence on the game. That said, Bruce he's already played 5 different formations in 8 months. If he needs to pull out a 3-5-2
Fun,
or
Bruce. Fun,
5-4-1,
Bruce.
right? Or a 4-1-3, 4-1-3-2.
You want the 4-3-2-1. You love yourself some Christmas tree.
No, I don't want the Christmas tree. I want the 4-3-1-2, the old-fashioned, Argentinian style. But Bruce has shown he'll do a little of it, a little everything. So I like that.
Bill in Portland, he sees Jorge Filifania here, number 9 on both of these lists. We haven't talked about him tonight. Is it just assumed now that he is the starter, the overall starter for this national team
so.
at left back? And how did he do tonight?
He did all right. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. The worry with Jorge Villafana is that against certain teams, he will get roasted for pace. And that means you have to have John Brooks over there on that side ready to cover. And that means you have to have Michael Bradley or Dax McCarty or Kellen Costa on that side ready to drop back and cover as well.
I don't mind saying this and differing from your opinion, because I actually don't think we have 4 in the back. I think if you look at the way the chips are right now, I think it's a 3-5-2 a year from now. I just think we have too many
I'm on board with Bobby.
We have too many good center backs. We don't have enough wingers. I actually don't think... I think if we play 4 in the back, Villafana is the guy. But I think if it's a 3-5-2, it just works too well for Fabian Johnson. It works too well for Yedlin. It puts Pulisic at a 10. It gets Josie and Wood on the field.
And
I
Bobby
think
Warshaw, a big fan of ours, tweeting.
it's a cute little kid, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is a cute little kid. If he played on the wing, maybe he'd be playing for
That
the
old
US
school
national
jersey,
team.
I really
At
like
the end of the
that,
day,
yeah.
who would you rather have on the field? And if Chris Pontius or Areola are our top wingers, would you rather have them on the field
Or a guy
Omar,
playing out of position?
But you're talking fantasy land because you're not including Darlington Nagbe as a winger.
But he doesn't think he's a winger.
I understand, but Bruce does, and it's Bruce's opinion that matters. So I understand the philosophical argument, but I'm not sure it's pragmatic to have the argument, because when Bruce needs to win a game, Darlington Nagbe is out there starting on the left wing.
What do you guys think? 401-206-0MLS. Let's go to the hotline right now.
All right, guys, calling in for a Hot-Take Hotline. Which 3 of the forwards improved the stock the most? Agudelo, Morris, or Dwyer? Thanks, guys.
People love talking forwards.
They do love talking
And you know
forwards.
what's
There's
funny?
just something to it.
But you know what's funny, and we've talked about this before, is it always mattered so much for the U.S. This is probably the deepest and healthiest it's been.
Right.
So we don't need to talk about
We're
it
talking
as
about
much
we're talking
anymore.
about fringe player, which is the point I was kind of trying to make. I mean, Well, look, this is going to leave a nasty taste in Dom Dwyer's mouth tonight. I still think he showed Bruce Arena what he could do. I think Jordan Morris, of the three, has probably benefited himself the most because I thought he wasn't going to be able to impact the game in this tournament because of the injury, because of the fact he hasn't really done it for the Sounders this year.
I'm going to do something that is unfair right now, but I'm going to add another name because I thought this guy 4 years ago was actually the best striker in the player pool.
Christian Ramirez, I agree.
Was Aaron Johansen.
Oh, stop.
And he's playing in Bundesliga. Is that unfair?
Oh my!
Am I not allowed to say that?
I think not even playing.
I just think the big problem with Aaron Johansen, and it's a complex theory that is, I think, maybe going to go over your head a little bit. No, I'm serious. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. It's just stay with me. He's not very good at soccer.
This is it right now. Straight over.
That's it.
And regardless,
That's
he's
deep,
not
dude.
playing.
This is breakdown. He's got an armchair. He's breaking it down.
This is him.
He's not good at soccer. I'm sorry. If Aaron Johansen, Aaron Johansen had been born in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, he would not be on anybody's radar.
Yo, you can talk about me, but do not talk about Mechanicsburg that way.
The good old days back in
Mechanicsburg.
That's
Hit
Hit
Bobby's
us up if you're in
hometown.
Mechanicsburg and you heard that and you're salty about it.
I would take no wait. I want to go back. Throw in one more name, two more names. C.J. Sapong playing great. Scoring against Swansea today in a
You
friendly.
cannot.
We've already mentioned
Don't
Christian
shade on Aaron
Ramirez.
Johansen and put Sapong.
I am looking forward to seeing Terrence Boyd getting completely healthy
Okay,
and
that's-
seeing
that's
what
a
he
good
can do
one.
in the two Bundesliga.
I'm
this
fine
year.
with putting Sapong in because Aaron Johansen doesn't play soccer right now.
Correct.
But Terrence Boyd, and I would love to see Terrence Boyd more than any person on the planet, isn't a guy that's healthy. Like
I just said, I'd like to see him get healthy. He is currently playing for Darmstadt in preseason. He scored like 3 goals the other day.
So did I for Darmstadt. This is your number 9 depth chart. Has anything changed over this tournament for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I think Bruce's number 9 depth chart is going to be. For me, it's you flip Agudelo and Dom Dwyer. I think Agudelo is number 3. But again, 99, unless Josie blows out another hamstring, 99% of the forward minutes are going to go to Josie, Bobby Wood, and Clint Dempsey.
I need to say this, guys. I brought in Johansen as a thought experiment, but this is one don't hop me too fast. This is one I legitimately believe in. Alan Gordon.
Yes.
I don't understand why every team doesn't have an Alan Gordon. What happens when
world
you're
are we
losing?
living in?
I don't
What
know,
happens when
man.
you're losing?
I'm
You
just-
pump the ball into the box. What happens when you're winning? They pump the ball into
So
the
you're
box.
saying you want to bring him in as a closer. He's a specialist
He's
off
a specialist.
the bench.
Literally, every team. We're not talking about the national team for the World Cup. Every team should have an Alan Gordon. And I would. Let me ask you
Yeah,
this:
his name's Christian Ramirez.
in the 85th minute, I said I got out last time, and I actually didn't think. Who would you rather bring on of everyone in this player pool but Alan Gordon?
Deep breaths there. We're not getting things like that to the text line, but we are getting some good stuff. Let's start with Joe in Las Vegas. He says he thinks Dempsey's at the age he should be used as a super sub. Bring him in when you need to spark. Only 70 minutes of Dempsey, nowhere near 20 to 30.
Who wants to be the one to tell Clint that,
Yeah,
though,
I
huh?
know. I'm volunteering him. He's got to wear that shirt.
He's gotta
I
wear
think
that
that'll
shirt.
distract him.
No joke. I have talked to a couple of people around the national team who know Clint pretty well, and they said it'll be a hard conversation. They have zero doubt he will eventually accept that role.
Here's my thing. Having been in this spot, right? I, too, have been told a week or two in advance, Bobby, you're not going to start today. When they put that list up the day before a big game and I don't see my name on it, even though you've told me, I still flip my chair and walk out that room. And I don't even have the personality that Clint Dempsey has. So it's one thing to say it 2 weeks in advance or 2 months in advance. It's another thing to not see your name on that board the day before
And
the
also
big
You
game.
heard it here first, by the way. He just compared himself to Clint Dempsey.
But
Flip that chair, man.
But also, what if you're Dempsey and you score in friendlies going into a World Cup and you're playing better in
Right.
training? So it's like one thing to accept it and then also to walk out there and be like, no, I'm better than he is right now.
And you know who was the best version of Dempsey we've seen in the last few years? The one that came back at the start of this year. As I like to call him, Humble Deuce. And I think that's a factor we haven't thought about yet.
The dude who scored 3 against Honduras?
Yeah, exactly. But I think Clint has this thing when he just tries to do too much. He tries to do much skill, to take too many touches, to not defend. But all of a sudden when he's humbled, he's hustling around, he's playing 1 and 2 touch. And I think if we get that Deuce, then maybe that's the one that can start.
All right, let's go back to the text line right now. Mitch from West Covina. Oh, his hot take, Christian Ramirez should be on this roster over Dwyer for sure, and possibly Zardes as well. After 3 games, Joe from Houston wants to know, who would we send home? Who should go home? Because there's
Pragmatically, the Liga MX guys, league starts in like 4 days. Jorge Villafana has to go win a job, a starting job, or hold on to a starting job. Paul Arriola has to go hold on to his starting job. Joe Corona, Omar Gonzalez.
I think Miazga might be in that conversation.
If they can find the right loan for him.
Like he's got to get on a team.
He's got to get on it. So, like, just pragmatically speaking, I think it's those guys because as great as it would be to see them play a few more games, the most important thing over the next 12 months is that all the guys who are in the pool are playing regular club minutes.
Jared in Iowa, he says that with Rowe showing quality at left mid, Fabian Johansen should be the full-time left back now for the national team. That seems like two things that maybe aren't connected.
It kind of is.
They're definitely connected. You could disagree. One comes with the other.
I can live with that take, especially because, I mean, Fabian Johansen struggled to defend as a fullback for a long time. Go back and watch World Cup 2014. He got roasted against Ghana. He got roasted against Portugal. That went away in 2016 at the Copa America. He was great defensively. So if that's the best place to use him, and that means we get Nagbe or Rowe at left wing and Pulisic as a number 10, we suddenly got a lot of attacking talent that can kind of overload that side. And then you have John Brooks on that side covering in behind.
Speaking of attacking talent, hype train time. Somebody's texting in repeatedly. Tommy Thompson's current form is good enough that would have helped the U.S. in the group stage.
Oh, that was me. I'm sorry.
3-5-2. Get him on the wing. Wing back, baby. Up and down. Choo choo. Tommy Thompson hype train, baby.
Let's talk hype train though, and there's only one hype train that matters in this Gold Cup. What is his name?
Alphonso Davies.
You say it smooth too. Maybe it's got
we're
the shirt on.
Frisbee.
Jazz club style. Alphonso Davies powered his way through French Guiana and Costa Rica, Canada. They put up 5 points in the group stage. They're going to the next round. They're waiting to see who they're going to play, but it's most likely going to be Jamaica or Mexico. What type of accomplishment was this for this team? Without Kyle Larin, Alphonso Davies injured in the second game, didn't start in the third game, and they got a draw against the dreaded Honduras.
Yeah, look, I think that the result last night was what it needed to be, and the results so far are what they've needed to be. And I don't want to praise Canada too much for this. I know they haven't been here in a couple years, but this is supposed to be like what they're aiming for and what they want to accomplish. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and sit here and pat ourselves on the back. If you're Canada, you got here. The real win of this tournament will be winning a knockout round stage.
Well, that game will be, by the way, Thursday, July 20th in Arizona at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll preview that one on Wednesday night after the U.S. national team game. So it starts at 10:30 p.m. And as we said, runner-up Group C, which will finish play tomorrow. It looks like it'll most likely be Mexico or Jamaica in that one. Doyle, now tell Wiebe why he's wrong.
I think he's wrong, first of all, because of just the way they played. Going out there and like trying to be a team that attacks and a team that plays pretty soccer. Previous Canadian coaches have not believed in the talent that they have and have not allowed them to do that. Second of all, keeping the 0 against Honduras. I mean, that's a Honduras team with some pretty decent attackers, including...
Although they didn't score a goal going into that moment.
Including a couple of guys.
Didn't Maluda bang in a couple for him?
Yeah,
right.
Oh.
His hat trick. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, you guys love Elise and Kyoto, and they were good, but Canada didn't break down. And we've seen Canada in these situations in the past sort of just break down and kind of wilt away.
So how will Canada get a win here? What does your bracket look like? Is Canada going to win this whole tournament? Just say yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I picked
all
them
the way
at
to the
start.
final.
I picked them at the start. I have to stick with them.
Oh, that's a win. You're going with a win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, Canada. I mean, first of all, if they're playing Jamaica, they should beat Jamaica. They're a better team than Jamaica. Then Mexico, who's, I think, the minnow of this tournament, probably. And then, you know, the great clash of superpowers, Canada versus USA in the final. Alphonso Davies probably dropping a hat trick.
You think Aguchi Onyengo heads a ball backwards on that one?
We don't even need the Hot-Take Hotline. We have Doyle just coming here. And look, my point about Canada is not that they shouldn't be proud of this, but that they should expect more because they have a coach who wants to play now, because they have a crop of young talent.
Yeah, you're giving 6 months.
Okay, fine.
For 4 months.
Fine. The shackles are off, but expect more. Why go into this like slapping yourself on the back for every little accomplishment?
Tough love, Wiebe.
You got to chip away. We all love the story about the small country coming up and dominating, but you've got to chip away. Every team, doubt is a very real thing, and after struggling for as long as they have, they just need to chip away and knock down that doubt and just feel better about themselves. Because in the locker room, when it comes to the 85th minute and you're struggling, you think about the fact that you haven't won in a long time. So to get out of their group,
Patrice Bernier's not thinking about that.
Of course he's going to say that, right?
Hype train, dude. Patrice Bernier for 20 more years.
Of course he's going to say that, but you've got to knock down that doubt one chip at a time. So for them to have made it this far will boost them for next tournament.
And for 2026 when Patrice Bernier coaches them to a World Cup tie.
Player coach.
Player coach.
Player
Patrice
coach. Break
Bernier.
the mold. Do it, please. 401-206-0MLS. That's our number. We get texts as well.
Yeah, we have some special guests watching in the car. That is... that's Rob Stone and Alexi Lawless.
What's
We got some big dogs hitting us up here, texting us. Okay, here's what Alexi has to say. Has Bruce Arena surpassed Alex Ferguson as the greatest manager ever yet? I read that live.
That's why it's hot takes.
I didn't actually go check that to start. Boy. Max Fancher from Newport Beach, California. Can Morris play with Pulisic's movement style of play? Who can play with Pulisic? How do we make him...
Pulisic can play with anyone
That's a good
because
point.
he's a genius.
But who's best with him?
Who's best with him? Who complements him?
It remains to be seen. I mean, so far, I like what I've seen with him playing centrally, and I think he and Michael Bradley seem to have a good understanding, especially if you look at the Honduras game. But that Honduras, they wilted in the first 15 minutes. The guy who I really want to see in that spot, I want to see Lletget get healthy, because I think Lletget, he finds the ball, he's got good feet, and he makes all those unselfish movements off the ball that Pulisic understands how to use.
I want to give credit to this question, though, because it's really important. As good as Pulisic is, every player has strengths. Every player needs partners around him to bring out the best in him. So it's important. As American soccer fans, we need to think about that. We should hold our players and our coaches accountable to think about those things.
Well, Dom Dwyer's trying to make himself one. One of the players you talk about, Josie Altidore, as being such a good passer. Pulisic's shown to be a goal scorer, so in my mind, a guy like Josie that can create for him and finish is a nice connection, and is rather than a guy like Bobby Wood who can finish but will stretch the line and won't come and play with him as much.
No.
We need to think about these
By the way, Jay
partnerships.
from New York just is following in Alexi's lead here. Where's Julian Green? Put him on the World Cup roster. Guys, your hot takes, they're getting a little bit too hot for us right now. We've also got William from Dallas, who played themselves out of World Cup contention after these 3 games. He says he's FCD TID, but he doesn't want to admit that probably Hedges didn't play well enough to stick around.
I mean, we did just cover it.
Can I throw one
Bobby.
name in
No,
there?
go ahead.
And you're not going to be happy because he was on your 23. I thought Justin Morrow's performance against Martinique, and that doesn't maybe mean much, was one of the worst performances of the tournament.
Stop. You guys, Bruce Bruce knows how this works. He's not going to rule someone out for one game. People have good games and bad games. It's got to be a really horrible game.
But when you look at your numbers, if Jorge Villafaña's your starter, which he is, and Fabian Johnson is a legitimate option there, now you were a guy who had to say, you need to take me. Even if you don't need me on this spot, I need to be there. And I don't think he did that.
And it's not the same thing for Toronto FC. You're not going to slot him into central defense. He's not going to be that guy who plays multiple positions. What is his role at the national team level?
Do you think Tim Ream is that guy then? Because you could play him at center back in a 4-4-2, which he did down in Panama. You could play him as a center back in a 5-4-1, which he did in Mexico. And you could play him at left back, which Fulham does all the time.
Doesn't that come back down to exactly what you were saying, which is Beasler and Ream? They both kind of occupy similar space.
You could actually end up taking both guys. And I do think it would be smart to take 5 center backs to the World Cup because
we're going to play with 3 at once?
We might. I mean, we might have to. And if you think back to 2002, if we had gotten past Germany in that game, we would have been down to 1 center back because everybody else would have been suspended on
that's
yellow
where
card
suspensions are going to come from.
It is something to think of with Ream. To me, I think Morrow's just a little bit better of a player, and I think he gets forward a little bit better, so I like that about him. But I wouldn't have any trouble seeing him in there in a 5-man back line in the central defensive role because you want that mobility to come off the line and to make plays. But, of course, we would need to see it first sometime in the next 12 months.
Well, we would like to see some of it on Wednesday night. The U.S. national team is back playing TBD, most likely Honduras, maybe El Salvador, in the quarterfinals, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, FS1 Unimas. That one's in Philadelphia. And then, of course, we'll be back right after the show, Club and Country, after the whistle. Hot takes will be flying left and right.
They're still
Alan
coming
Gordon
in,
will play center back. Alexi Lawless will coach the team. Matt Doyle is going to preach and play guitar. It's going to be a whole thing all at once.
Might even wear a shirt. He might even have a shirt.
Thanks so much for joining us.